former Michigan GOP gubernatorial candidate Tudor Dixon. Good morning, Tudor. What do you make of that? Don't share our values for the dignity of the person.
You know, there's no one that triggers Nancy Pelosi like Donald Trump. We've seen it for the last 6 years. We saw it even before when he was running. She continuously said, oh, he'll never be president. He'll never be president. And now she sees that this is happening again. She's in a desperate situation. But is this a moment where Democrats just can't contain themselves anymore and they continue to insult the people who are coming out for him, which are big numbers right now? And if he gets into the general, then you're going to have Republicans coming in from all different sides. And that's going to be really hard for Nancy Pelosi to take.
It is fascinating how much they always go back, or how frequently, Tudor, they go back to insulting the voter base. Deplorable, clinging to God and guns. In this case, suggesting they don't value human dignity.
Right, exactly. And you'll see that because you see them questioning whether or not Joe Biden is the right choice. And so they're looking at their bench and they're saying, well, gosh, if we're going to pull from our bench, we're going to have to go to Newsom or we're going to have to go to Whitmer. And the only thing they're talking about is LGBTQ issues. And you look at the state of Michigan right now, it's in a dire situation where her own administration came out and said there will be no job growth through 2030. They have no other message to go on than we're going to care for the people who are the minority of the voting bloc and the majority of the voting bloc. We don't really have a message for you, so we're going to shame you into saying if you don't vote for us, then you're bad people.
Speaking of Michigan, Tudor, we wanted to get you in on this topic. So a Chinese owner of a Michigan EV plant, it's called Goshen. Many of their employees in China pledged allegiance to the CCP. This is back in 2021, and this is material gathered by the Daily Caller. And they had these employees say things like, I volunteer to join the CCP, uphold the party's bylaws, observe the provisions of the party, carry out a member's duties, carry out the party's decisions, strictly observe the party's discipline, be loyal to the party, work hard to fight for communism as long as I live. That's the corporate parent in China with many of those employees. Now they have an EV plant, not only in America, but in your home state of Michigan.
Right. That's the corporate parent. But let me remind you that the CEO of the United States subsidiary, the subsidiary is actually a secretary of that committee. So the CCP committee for Goshen, the secretary of that committee is the CEO of the American subsidiary. Now, remember, when we reported on this months back, the initial reporting on this was that if you go to the American bylaws, it says in the American bylaws that this company will have a CCP committee on site in Michigan. It clearly stated that. And at the time, they were like, oh, no, that's not really what we meant. But now we see that the CEO has essentially pledged his life. I mean, what you just read there is essentially pledging your life above all else to the CCP. He is the CEO coming to the United States.
Now, here's what this is a statement from Goshen, the American subsidiary, as you point out. They say Goshen high-tech employees in China are involved with many clubs, including biking and hiking clubs and one politically affiliated club. None of these clubs are financed by Goshen High-Tech, and some employees individually paid for field trips to historical sites in China out of their own pockets. You see, Tudor, it's just like, 4-H. It's just a club.
Right, exactly. I mean, the political organization that it has caused slave labor and all of these other human rights atrocities in China should just be considered similar to hiking and biking. Yeah. It's outrageous, but that's where this is like the Democrat. It's like Nancy Pelosi being like, you know what, we care about people. Look the other way. I mean, this is where we are today.
All right, Tudor Dixon, great to talk to you this morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.